Hey, Caleb, glad you can make it. Good afternoon. Happy Friday. Glad you could be here. So, I'm going to get a few last things set up for me so I can be engaged. I can see the screen on the computer that's recording somewhat well, but I'm going to pull it up on here so I'm able to see a little closer. So, Caleb, I know you've done a little bit of traveling this summer. Where all have you been? Hey, Aiden, good afternoon. Glad you could be here. We've got a fun afternoon planned. We've got uh, a game that involves not social distancing, but some distancing. Oh, very cool. Caleb, you went to Big Bear. Hey, Nolan just said hi, and I think Nolan was in Big Bear. Was it last weekend or was that 2 weekends ago? Time's going pretty fast these days. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up. I guess I can do it just on here. Okay, there we go. I'm going to use this so that I don't have to try to read the screen, which is a little far away for my eyes to be able to see. But glad you guys are here for our August, what is today? August 14th session of Restless. So once again, I can see that there's a handful of you guys that are watching that I haven't heard from yet. So if you're able to, if you enter into the chat, then I'm able to tell that you're here and I can engage with you a little more. Because I know some of you are here, but it looks like there's 4 of you that haven't engaged in our chat yet. So I'd love to get you included in the conversation. So don't want to spend too much time waiting for people to get into our room. So I'll go ahead and start off with some of this stuff. Hey, Russell, glad you could make it. Glad you could make it. So welcome to August 14th session of Restless. So last week I wanted to show you guys something that I'd been doing and it didn't quite work out the way I'd hoped. So I'm going to try it again this week. So one of the really cool things that my best friend did during quarantine, and my best friend's really good with technology. He actually works for an IT company, or he works in the IT department of a fairly large organization. Really good at what he does, but he likes doing computer programming and things like that. And one of the things that he did to set us up to have like a really fun time during quarantine, I know that can be those feel like oxymorons, fun in quarantine, but he made us, our friends from high school, he made us all video game emulators, which is essentially computers that we can play video games on. But then he also set it where he can host rooms and we can all play together. So we've been playing some old school video games, like on Super Nintendo games together. So one of the games that we've been playing has been Mario, or not, will we play Mario? No, one of the games we've been playing is Ninja Turtles. So I was going to show you guys what me playing Ninja Turtles with my buddies looks like. We'll get on the WhatsApp and talk on our headphones and stuff. So it's kind of like what all you young kids are doing with your Xboxes and things like that, playing modern games. But I'm old, so we play old games. So we're going to check this out. And this is basically every Tuesday night my buddies and I get together and we'll play video games. So we play. Well, our favorite game is Super Bomberman. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that. Hey, Emily, thanks for joining. Russell, glad you're here too. But we'll just sit back, play these games. Here we go. This is me playing Ninja Turtles for a little bit. The volume might be a little too loud, I don't know. But yeah, basically, we'll get together and we'll play these old school arcade games. I won't play too long, but maybe I'll play until I die. So for me, I took care of a student whose parents were going out of town. He wanted me to hang out with him, and he wanted me to watch him play video games. And I don't know about you guys, but watching someone else play a video game is like the most boring thing in the world. Like, I can think of at least 150 things I would want to do before, I'll just sit and watch video games. So this is great because when I play with my buddies, we can play together and we can do operations together and stuff like that. But there we go. That's it. I'm not gonna bore you guys with me eternally playing Ninja Turtles. But apparently this is the cool thing that kids do is they will host live streams and play video games and other people will watch. But I'm not a cool kid, so I'm going to turn this guy off and get back to our original screen. So here we go. One of the things that's been somewhat difficult, I know, for a lot of people during quarantine is that we haven't been able to be around people. We've had to do the whole social distancing thing, and for people like me that our immune systems are compromised, we have to even be more vigilant in making sure we don't encounter germs. So little things like that is something that my body did to enable me to, not spend a ton of time just sitting, like watching TV by myself. But it's something that we can do that, some people enjoy doing it by themselves, but it adds another element when we're able to engage in a community. And it's really important for us to be part of a community. So one of the things that we're going to do for our game today, and I'm hoping we've got, I know who's there. So I know you guys that are out there are pretty intelligent people. So for those of you that didn't know, I grew up in Singapore, which is completely on the other side of the world. So you take your globe, you put your hands on it like this, United States here, Singapore, kind of not quite over there, but like kind of a little bit, but much smaller, obviously. But it was one of those things where distances are kind of like, once they get into something, like we have the mentality of like anything over 100 miles, and it's like, what's the difference between 200 and 300 miles? Not much difference, right? What's the difference between 300 and 500 miles? Well, if you're driving, that's a big difference. That's 3 hours. Yeah, that's 3 hours. I didn't want to make it sound like I was driving really fast. But we're going to do some trivia today based off of distances. How far do we think it is between point A and point B? So these are A, B, C, D answers. So you can either write in the answer like the numbers that you think are correct, or you can write in the actual A, B, C, or D. So you can say like 4,320, or like how fast is the Earth spinning? You can pick C, or you can say 68,000 miles per hour, which is going to would be one of the choices. So let's take a look at our first question. This is going to be social distance game. So here we go. I'm joined by my co-host Jazz right there. If you guys want to say hi to Jazz, he's just chilling out. It's pretty hot today, and we let him run around outside for a while, so he's tuckered out. Let me see. Actually, before we get started in our game, I'm going to go ahead, see if I can't get him to stick his head out and say hi. Jazz, you want to say hi? He kind of did. He did it for a second. Let's see if we can do it again. He says hi. He's cute. But we like having Jazz, especially during quarantine. It's been nice having another character to hang out around the house. So moving on. Glad you guys are enjoying me playing with my cat, because I do that all the time. But let's check out this first question. So that's on first question. Those are directions. Here we go. What is the total distance from Orlando, Florida to Anaheim, California? So for those of you guys that are thinking that's two really, really random places, that is actually the locations of Disney World, which is in Florida, and Disneyland, which is in California. So Disney World is in Orlando, Disney World is in Florida. What do you guys think the distance is between these two? So we've got A, 2,761, so 2,761 miles, 2,493 miles, 2,107 miles, or none of the above. I know this is a tough one because those are kind of close. So, I mean, I'm not positive, but I'm going to guess, unless it's none of the above, it's probably about 2,000 miles. And for those of you guys that are getting distracted by this little graphic overlay or watermark there, so when I went to go get set up for our show today, we use a program at church called Pro Presenter. And unfortunately, when I went to go, I actually updated my computer yesterday. And then when I went to go open up and pull up my Pro Presenter presentation, it needed me to re-input all of our licensing information. And that was like 10 minutes ago. So instead of trying to bother Luke with something last minute, hey, I need the licensing information, I was like, the free version will give us that little watermark and we'll tolerate it. So, hey, Elsa, glad you could be here. So, what do you guys think? Go ahead. We got a C, we got a C, we got a B. I don't know why I'm straining to see that screen. I've got one right here so I can see it more easily. That's the whole point of having my iPad out. So we got a C, a B, and a C. So I'm going to go with Russell is the oldest person here. Thus, he is the smartest person here. Seems fair to me. So I haven't seen my mom log into the chat today. Usually she'd be the smartest one here. Or I don't know if Amy Wozni is here either, but we've got 10 of you guys watching live right now. So for those of you guys that, I said this earlier, if you haven't engaged in the chat, I don't necessarily know that you're here. So Elsa, hi, glad you could join us. Russell, glad you're here. The whole Russell and Carla Hayes crew is with us. So Caleb, glad you're here. But let's check out this next one. This next question. What is the distance from the Earth to the sun? So this is one of those ones, if you're in Earth science or one of the sciences, you learned this at some point in life. And if you're like me, maybe when you were 2 weeks out of that class, you forgot. So how far is the Earth to the sun? We've got 149. We've got million kilometers. So kilometers, that's really to throw you guys off. 149 kilometers, 400,000. I'm terrible at reading numbers. Shouldn't be that hard. 384,400, 400. I don't know why I'm struggling with this. Whatever, you guys can read. 384,400 miles. There we go. Not so hard, is it? 698 million kilometers. And then D, none of the above. So I'm going to go ahead and put up the next question and read it out and give you guys a chance. Good job for those of you guys that got this one correct. The answer to this one is A. You guys are correct. So I'm going to put up the next question. I'm going to talk, but I'm also going to try to text somebody that's having trouble getting on. So I'm going to try to multitask where I'm not even very good at doing one thing at once. So you guys are about to witness history if I can successfully do this while sending someone a text message to get them into our chat. So here we go. Let's go. Next question is, in their hit song from 1988 called I'm Gonna Be, what distance do the Proclaimers say they would walk? Right? So there's a song from 1988 that says, I will walk, and then it goes on to say a distance. What distance do the Proclaimers say they would walk? So, question is A, B, C, or D, 100, 400, or 500. 100, 300, 400, 500. Those are your picks. A, B, C, or D. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully we'll find out if we see him in a minute. So hopefully Cole will be joining us shortly. If not, he'll have to watch the recorded version, which is the same but not quite as fun because we don't get to be together. So for those of you guys that know this song, you can sing this song in your head. It's 500 miles. So the song goes, and I would walk 500 miles, and I would walk 500 more. So I mean, technically they could say, if you did the math, they said they would walk 1,000 miles, because the line goes, I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more, just to be the one who walked 500 miles to fall down at your door. So technically, I would say they would be willing to walk 1,000. But for those of you guys that got that one correct, good job. If not, in 1988, I was only 4 years old, so I don't blame you if you got that one wrong. So let's keep going with our activity here, and let's see this next question. So here we go. Yonge Street in Toronto, Canada, is the longest street in the world. What is its total distance? So, how long do you guys think the longest street in the world is? So, I've actually never been there, and I wouldn't be surprised if none of you guys have been there either, but I have been to the world's widest street, which is in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And it's so big, there's an entire opera house that goes underneath it. Like, it's so wide, they fit an entire opera house underneath it. So it's an underground, all of the underground area of the opera house fits underneath. So I actually don't have any idea if I'm pronouncing this correctly either, but I'm going to call it Yonge Street, but it's probably not. And I don't know which side of Canada it was named from, whether it was the French-speaking side or the English-speaking side. So maybe that's French, but I also don't speak French, so that's not going to help me there either. So here we go. Do we think it is 1,158, 1,168, which is very close when you're dealing with thousands, or 1,178, or none of the above? So the reality with this one is, those are all really close for an answer that probably none of us actually know what the answer is. So here we go. Let's check it out. The answer is C, 1,178 miles. So the longest continuous road in the world goes for 1,000 miles. That means you could drive straight without getting off for, was that 20 hours? I don't know. Somebody else can do the math. I haven't been in school for like 15 years, so yeah, I think no, that'd be a little under 20 hours. So, which is pretty crazy. So this next question, we're dealing with distances here. We are social distancing, so we're doing some distance-based trivia. So this is a true or false. So this is a better one because you have a 50-50 chance of getting it correct. So true or false, Miami, Florida is closer to Brazil than it is to Washington State. True or false, Miami, Florida is closer to Brazil than it is to Washington State. So they're saying, okay, if we've got Washington State over here, we've got Miami over here on the other side of Florida, or the other side of the United States, and then way down here, you've got Brazil. Do you think it might be closer from Florida to Brazil than it is actually from Florida to Washington State? So what do you guys think? True or false, A or B? We've got some false, we've got some false, we've got some true. So you guys are kind of on the fence. You're not sure where you land on this one. Nolan, I know you're out there, but I haven't seen you answer a question in a while, so feel free to get your answer in. So we've got Dad, you think it's true? You think it's true. So here we go. Next one. And the answer for this one is A, true. Miami, Florida is closer to Brazil, which is in South America. So that means Florida is closer to South America than it is to Washington State, which says a lot, but it kind of makes sense. Ooh, Nolan, what are you making? Just out of curiosity. Nolan just said he was making food, by the way, so if you're not seeing our live chat, I haven't had lunch yet either, so after I'm done here, I'll be making something to eat. Got some chicken to grill up. So here we go. Who holds the world record for longest jump? So who holds the record for the longest jump? A total distance of 8.95 meters. So I feel like that's like 30 feet. That's a really long ways. So that's like if you were to lay down a basketball hoop, it would be 3 lengths of that would be that distance. So what do you guys think? Who holds the world record for longest jump with a total distance of 8.95 meters? A, Carl Lewis, B, Mike Powell, C, Tanjay Gale, or D, Mitchell Watt? The only, I guess I don't want to give it away, but I've actually only heard of one person on this list. But he is not the person who set the record. And I'm going to go ahead and ask Siri what the direct equivalent of 8.95 meters is in feet. How far is 8.95 meters in feet?
29.36 feet.
29.36 feet. And this guy said almost 30. Yes, I did not grow up in the United States, so I'm okay when it comes to translating distances. Okay, so we got a couple D's, we got a B. Caleb Thibodeau actually says Mike Powell's name. Russell, Nolan both guessed A. Carl Lewis is the only person on this list that I've actually heard of, but I knew that he was a sprinter and not a jumper, so I figured it wasn't him, but I had no idea outside of that. So Caleb, good job. Way to go, man. Got his name written in there and everything, not just B. Way to go. So, Nolan, that sounds delicious. Nolan just commented that he's having macaroni and cheese with bacon. That sounds pretty legit. Okay, next one. Here we go. The Burj Khalifa in Dubai is the tallest building in the world with a total height distance of 828 meters. What is the second tallest building in the world? So this isn't you need to guess the distance. What is the second tallest? So the Burj Khalifa is the first tallest building in the world. What is the second tallest building? A, the World Trade Center. B, International Commerce Center. C, the Shanghai Tower. Or D, the Princess Tower in Dubai. So we've got quite a few C's thinking it's in China. Got a couple A's, C, so quite a few. Okay, it's almost like you guys know this one or something, because the answer is C, the Shanghai Tower in Shanghai. So China has the second tallest building in the world after Dubai, which is pretty impressive. It would have been crazy if it was D and they had the 2 tallest. But the number 1 tallest building is pretty epic looking. So if you guys have a chance, you should Google the Burj Khalifa and see pictures of it. It's quite impressive. Quite impressive. Okay, here we go. Next one is in the 1994 movie Forrest Gump. Forrest goes on a run that lasts 3 years, 2 months, 14 days, and 16 hours. What is the estimated distance that Forrest ran? So if you guys haven't watched Forrest Gump, it was a movie that was really popular in the 90s. And it talks about basically he just starts running and he never stopped and he just kept going and going and going. So, and it says and then one day he just decided to stop, right? And he became kind of a spectacle where people would want to watch him running. And eventually he just decided to stop and he said, I'm done. But how far do you think it would be estimated at the pace he was shown? It's not a sprint. He's kind of just a casual, slow jog that he ran for 3 years, 2 months, 14 days, and 6 hours. What is the estimated distance that Forrest ran? So, granted, I understand that this is somewhat an arbitrary question, but it's still fun to think of. If you were to run consistently for 3 years, for over 3 years, how long do you think you would be running for? So, 19,000 miles, 21,000 miles, 24,000 miles, or none of the above? The answer is A, 19,000 miles. Well, good. You guys are pretty good at this game so far. You're doing well. You're doing well. So, got 2 more questions. In 2013, Ashrita Furman set the record for riding a blank underwater. So what did they set a record for riding this underwater? A unicycle, B, a submersible scooter, C, a tricycle, or D, a snowmobile? So I will get this video for you guys for next week's program. So tune in next week, and I'll make sure we get to watch this feat happening. So what do you guys think? Do you think they were riding a unicycle, a submersible scooter, a tricycle, or a snowmobile? So how far do you think they rode underwater for one, or not how far? What do you think they rode successfully underwater for 1.3 miles? Which is a really long way to be underwater. Okay, we got a couple A's, we got some B's, we got some C's. I love it when we have people that answer every question, like every option, like questions where someone answers A, B, C, and D, because those are the ones that you know, like, hey, this one doesn't make any sense regardless. So who knows what it could be? But this one, here we go. The answer is, good job for those of you that picked A. It is unicycle. Okay, so next and last question. What is the distance between a regulation SOCCERNET'S goalpost? So what that means is, how wide is like an official soccer goal? So from one pole to the other, how wide is that? How wide do you think that is? Do you think it's 7.32 meters? Do you think it is 8 yards? Do you think it is 24 feet? Or D, do you think it is all of the above? So this one might be trying to trick you. What do you guys think? A, B, C, or D? How wide do you think a soccer goal is? 7.32 meters, 8 yards, 24 feet, or all of the above? The answer is D, all of the above. You guys are right. You're smart. So I was thinking about this, and this question and these answers were kind of confusing to me, because it's pretty well established that the rest of the world is kind of more into soccer than the United States. So in your guys' lifetime, soccer has gained a lot of popularity in the United States, but it is kind of weird that the standard setting would be exact in our system, right? You'd think it would be in the metric system, it would be a specific number. Like in the like you kind of figure like, oh, it would say that it was like 7 meters, but then it would say that it was like 8 or 7.3 yards or something, right? Or like those wouldn't be the perfectly round numbers, but who knows when that became established as the official width. So I hope you guys enjoyed social distances game. So today, kind of one of the things that I wanted to talk about and just share with you guys some of the thoughts that I've been having a lot lately. You know, we're still in quarantine. Some of you guys are allowed to go out. Your parents let you see friends and things like that, but it's still nothing like it once was. The fact that, you know, I'm sitting here at my house talking to you guys through a video screen, this is not my preference. I would much rather be hanging out with you guys, playing games in person, being able to run around, being able to do physical contact, you know, being able to give people hugs that I haven't seen in a while. But the reality of it is we are still required to social distance. We're not allowed to meet together in person. And as much as that makes me feel sad, I need to remember that even though we are not together, and you need to remember this too, even though you are not with us, we are still together, right? And even before quarantine, even before seasons of isolation, what evil did in order to make us be really hard on ourselves, to feel like no one understands, to feel lonely, is that evil wants us to feel like we are alone, right? So even before quarantine, the way evil operated is that when you're struggling, when you're hurting, when you're in pain, evil wants you to feel like you're the only one. Evil wants you to feel like nobody understands. Evil wants you to understand that you're the only person who's experiencing rejection, that you're the only person that's experiencing pain, that nobody knows what you're going through, right? And although our circumstances might be unique to us, it's really important for you guys to know that you are not alone. It's really important for me to know that I am not alone. One, I mean, I know there's people around me that love and care about me, but do they really understand what I'm going through, right? I know I have friends at school that hang out with me, right? But do they really know how much pain I'm in inside, right? And that's one of the things that evil does in order to get to us, is they seclude us and they get our minds into that place where it starts to be like nobody cares how I feel, nobody understands how I feel. And one of the important things about having a faith family and a community like we do is that when we're in pain and when we're hurting, we have a place where we're able to come. And our goal, I know you guys hear me say this a lot when we play games or when we're on mission trips, especially, is like, I just have this line I say, like, well, suck it up, buttercup, right? But when it comes to our emotional health, telling somebody that to suck it up doesn't really cut it, right? We need to experience empathy. We need to give empathy. We need to seek understanding, right? But in Psalm 38, there's a passage that talks about, it says, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted, right? The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. And it's one of those things, if you're hurting, if you're struggling, if you're in pain in this season or any season to come, it's really important that we remember that the Lord is near, right? In these seasons where we have to stay by ourselves, where we have to stay inside, it's really easy for evil to kind of creep into our minds and enter into our home, right? Where we feel like, you know, I'm alone, nobody knows how I feel, nobody understands, everybody hates me, whatever you've got going on, whatever your issue is, I challenge you guys to present it to God, because one, he understands. A lot of times we feel like, oh, this is like my problem, God doesn't know what I'm going through. But the reality of it is, one, he does understand what you're going through. Two, he knows what you're going through. But most importantly, and sometimes I think this is especially in our youth, is that we feel like God doesn't care what we're going through, right? Or sometimes we feel like, oh, you know, he's got all of these big things that he has to do. He doesn't really want to bother with me because I'm insignificant. Or, you know, I might just be a little bit depressed. It's not like I'm suffering from starvation, right? My problems aren't as big as some of the other problems that there might be in the world. But the reality of it is, in those moments of brokenness, it says God is near, but I also encourage you guys to, in those moments, draw near to God. And this sounds dumb, but one of the things that is really difficult for us at times is to really be vulnerable with God and express how we feel. So in the commissioning class on Sunday, we had the opportunity for the students to share and just talk out loud. It's like, what do you think about Jesus? Right? What do you, when you hear like God, when you like think of Jesus, what are some of the things that come to mind? And it's really easy for us to not verbally process that. But when we verbally process that, it brings a new depth in our understanding of who God is. So when you're sharing your struggles with God, I encourage you guys, I mean, you don't need to like run around the house so like your family can hear anything that you're struggling with. But I challenge you guys to verbalize it. Say it outside to God. And say things like, God, I'm really struggling right now because I feel lonely. Or God, I feel a sense of hopelessness because I don't feel like I'm ever going to be able to go out again. Or even saying out loud to God the things that have hurt us in the past. I know Russell and not Russell, you've got 1 year left. Some of our graduates, right? They might be in that place where they feel hurt because they missed out on the end of their senior year. And verbalizing to that God can be a thing that brings healing. Russell, correct me if I'm wrong on that one. If you're a senior this year, let me know. If you just graduated, which I think you have 1 year left. I'm not sure. I'm confusing myself now. But the reality of it is when we express verbally, it creates a new level of understanding. So kind of the equivalent that I like to say is like, I'm one of those people that learn by doing, right? Some of you guys that have like a really, really profound mind or whatever, like somebody can tell you how to do something and then you're able to go do it. Whereas for me, in order to really learn how to do something and be able to remember how to do it, I need to go and actually sit down and figure out how to do it myself, right? So sometimes somebody showing me how to do something doesn't always necessarily mean that I'll be able to do it. So if you guys are able to do that, I challenge you guys. God wants to know how your heart feels. He knows how your heart feels, but he wants you to get to that point where you also are vulnerable with him, where you're willing to share how you feel, right? Because that's when it comes to human relationships, true intimacy comes when we are able to share those things with others, right? If we're in a close relationship with someone, it means that we're comfortable sharing how we feel. So we want to come to that place with God where we're comfortable with how we feel, right? And we want God to know how we feel as well. But the reality of it is he does, and it says that he is near to us when we're hurting. So for those of you guys that joined me today, I'm glad you're here. Go ahead, feel free to post any last second thoughts. I actually left my Nerf gun over there, so I'll go grab it in a second to try to shoot out the camera. But I'm going to go ahead and pray for us, and then we will close for the day. So feel free to bow your heads if you want. If not, not a big deal. God, I thank you for each student that was with us today. I just ask that you would remind them that they are not alone. God, we are together digitally, Lord, but our hearts are also together, and we know that you are near. God, you are with us in this place, and in those times when we're in pain and when we're hurting, you are near. So in a season where we are social distanced, we would be reminded that despite that, you are close, and you care, and you love us. In your holy name I pray, amen. Okay, give me 2 seconds to grab my Nerf gun. So this is my for use when frustrated. Let's see. It's not fully loaded, so hopefully that doesn't mess us up. Oh, first shot blackout. I will see you guys next Friday. Love you, miss you, can't wait to be together.